Supreme Magus. What's wrong with me? More like what's wrong with you? Are you really willing to live all your life on the sidelines, letting others risk their lives for you? Back at the academy, the three of us stood through thick and thin, but now I'm just a dead weight. What if something happens to one of them because I'm not strong enough to be of help? It would be nobody's fault but the Odie's. They were the monsters that. Really? Blaming dead people for our own incompetence? Would you be able to say such words if something happens to Professor Yandra, or would you blame her teammates for letting her die? Kyla cut Rainer short, making him turn pale at the idea. I would blame her teammates, he admitted after a second. Great, at least we're on the same page about you being a coward. I'm not a coward. You have no idea what I had to endure at the Black Griffin just to survive my 4th year during Balcor's attack, not to mention the mana poisoning and the hazing from my peers. I choose the academic career because I was sick and tired of fighting. I choose forge mastering because it's a challenge with yourself rather than others. Does that make me a coward? He asked. No, Kyla replied with a warm smile. That makes you a coward who dares patting himself on the back. Just like her mother, she would always caress before landing a death blow. Cry me a river, I've survived the same events you speak of, and if it wasn't for Nalir's betrayal, I would be able to fight alongside them instead of being this. Kyla waved at herself, unable to express the self-loathe she felt. After attempting at Journey's life and killing Uriel, she had refused to learn offensive spells because she felt guilty for being still alive while so many had died that day. Because she was afraid that another Nalir would come and force her to hurt the people she loved again. Yet after Floria almost died in her arms, after seeing Lith and Floria risk their lives time and time again to protect her, Kyla had changed her mind. She wasn't angry at Rainer so much as at herself. Kyla was so harsh with him only because he had made her same choices. She had focused solely on healing and forge mastering for the same reasons Rainer did. Oh gods, I'm so sorry. I forgot you were from the White Griffin, Rainer said, realizing his blunder. I'll accept your apologies only if you accept mine, Kyla replied. I shouldn't have taken it out on you, it's just that before this trip, I've never realized how helpless I am and it's driving me crazy. She apologized to him again before turning around and entering the women's quarters. Rainer stood there for a while, unable to stop thinking about Professor Yandra. She is the only family I have ever had and she has supported me during my academy years. How can I be happy to be left behind after she had almost died for saving me from that fungus? How can I be so relaxed despite the fact that she might not return from Kula? Maybe Kyla is reckless, but I'm really an idiot. The following day, the professors, Lith, and Floria entered the first building together, leaving all the soldiers and the assistants behind the protection of the arrays. Since the Weapon Research Center, the second building, had collapsed, Floria had decided it was best to clear at least one facility before splitting the group again. Now that the pseudo-Balor was dead, nothing stopped them from moving forward. Behind the door, there was the usual metal corridor. A huge plaque was hung above the entrance and several doors led inside what looked like hospital rooms. Part of the walls was comprised of reinforced glass panels that allowed the group to look inside. What's written on the plaque? Lith asked. Body Modification Center, Professor Gaku replied, grimacing in disgust. While the professors scanned the corridor for traps and arrays, Lith used life vision to search for any life force. His sight was partially blinded by the mana coursing through the building, but he was quite confident they were alone. Each room had a single bed and was quite spacious. It would have put the White Griffin VIP ward to shame if the beds didn't have multiple means of restraint and the inner walls weren't heavily padded. Lith used invigoration on the nearest wall, to confirm his hypothesis. Each wall is half a meter, 16.5 feet, thick and enchanted to be soundproof. There is no offensive spell nor array. This must be a psychiatric ward of sorts, he thought. Something is off, Professor Yandra said. This is too clean to be a place for members of the lesser races. I mean only one bed per room. Agreed, Elka said. The lack of safety measures is disturbing too. The paddings usually are to protect the patient from themselves and the ODI do not strike me as caring. The corridor was U-shaped, ending with an administrative office and a reinforced door with no signs. Half of the team run through the files in the office while the rest examined the door. Judging from its position and the size of the nearby room, the door must lead downstairs. Floria said. Once again, disabling the arrays only required to pull the plug, but a password was still required to safely open the door. No bets this time, Marok said. One mistake and we'll have more golems on our tail and another collapsed building once we defeat them. It's worse than that. There are more arrays on the other side of the door. Triggering them might be even worse than golems. Lith used invigoration on the door, even spotting the cable fueling them. He sent a stand of mana as thin as a hair through the door, having care of moving it slow and easy as he looked out for alarms. Unfortunately, the arrays on the other side completely sealed the door, blocking even light, sound, and mana. As soon as the spirit magic strand touched them, Lith felt their power change. He had been delicate enough that the defensive system had mistaken his mana for an energy fluctuation and was trying to restore the balance. Lith made the strand disappear and everything returned to normal. He then focused on the holographic pad and much to his surprise, he could see how the mana composing each letter was linked to a specific quadrant of the display. Most of them went straight for a single relay, whereas a few of them were connected to two different relays. The good news is that I know what characters the password is made of. The bad news is that I have no idea about their order, if they have to be repeated, and more importantly how the heck I can share the information with the others. he thought. The metal cylinders of the lock were also connected to the arrays on both sides of the door, making it impossible to move them by force. Lith was out of options, and due to the limited space, only 2 people could examine the door at once without their spells interfering with each other. He left his spot to Nishal, letting her coordinate her efforts with Yandra's. He beckoned Floria to come close and conjured a hush spell to not be overheard. Good gods, get a room already, there's plenty of beds and the doors aren't locked. I checked. The professors kept their composure and managed to avoid chuckling at the expense of their comrades. Ranger Erie was much funnier to those who weren't the targets of his rude, inappropriate remarks. Lith was getting tired of his shenanigans, but being Marak one of the only 3 people in the entire expedition capable of holding their ground in a hand-to-hand fight, he soldiered on. Floria was used to inappropriate comments since she had joined the army. Every time someone got close to her, people would spread rumors about her alleged affairs. Insubordination and slander of a superior officer might not get you court-martial led, but I'm sure that my disciplinary notes will impact the amount of money you will receive for your retirement as well as this mission, she said while adding the episode to her report. I'm sorry, Captain, I was just joking. Marak inwardly cursed at himself for his stupidity. Rangers had a great amount of freedom, but the army was very strict about respecting the ranks. I'm sorry too, I wish I could kick your ass, but I need you alive. Yet, now, unless you want to overhear state secrets that could compromise our mission and put your life at stake, I suggest you shut up. Just because such comments were common, it didn't make them less annoying nor hurtful. With her perfect record, those who were envious of Floria could only badmouth her for her personal life, making it even harder for her to find a boyfriend or just a friend. What were you saying? She asked, both her face and voice were stone cold. I know the characters that make up the password, but I have no clue how to make use of such information without screwing up my life. Lith said. Did you discover them with your special eyes or with one of your personal spells? Both. Just as I analyzed your hairpin, I studied the holographic pad. It only has 2 relays, right and wrong. Lith had no intention of lying to her. He knew that despite her expression, Floria was likely to be hurt by his fellow ranger's outburst. Lith had noticed that her mood got worse every time he lied to her and got better when he was honest. She already knows enough about my skills that this piece of information is irrelevant. Besides, she's putting a lot at stake to help me with the runes. The least I can do is return her trust. He thought. I can try something, but Dad is likely to get pissed off. Some of the spells he taught me he keeps them a secret even from the army. Just like you do, she smiled, raising the temperature in the room of several degrees. We're done examining the administrative office and for once, may the gods bless paperwork. Elka said. Those who were able to read the ODI language were translating several pages, giving each member of the expedition a copy. The first floor was the medical center for the ODI. Once they were done experimenting on the lesser races, they would attempt body modifications on their own people. He pointed at the padded rooms. Just like Assistant Erna's assumed, major changes in the life force also brought severe mental damage, that the medical files we found describe as temporary. My guess is that Kyla is right in that these alterations permanently affected their minds, bringing the entire ODI race to consider madness as normality. Below us, there are several underground floors where, according to these files, experiments on both incurable diseases and life force modifications were conducted. Those floors are bound to be messier and more dangerous. Some diseases may still be active, so before opening the door, everyone put on a safety mask. Professor Gaku handed to each one of them a plague doctor mask identical to the one Lith wore back in Candria, but this one was enchanted. They are alchemical items, so they are not reusable, she explained. They offer good protection from pathogens but are not suited to fights, so in case something goes wrong, retreat is our first priority. Good to know. Our problem here is opening the door, Yandra said. Each one of us has managed to discover a few characters of the password, but we have no idea how to piece them together. Both Lith and Floria were flabbergasted. Royal Forgemasters really were on a league of their own. Show them to us. If we're lucky, it's the anagram of an actual word. If it's just random letters, we're screwed, Elka said. They missed a couple of them. Lith whispered in Floria's ear after hushing them again. Damn it, which ones? The M overlapping with the reversed P and that R with a dot in its middle. It's official, we're screwed, Gaku said. Luckily, everyone was too busy looking at the password to notice their exchange. There's no word comprised of these letters, so either the password is random or we are missing some characters. Let me give it a go. Floria stepped forward, taking her silver wand out of her dimensional amulet. I was supposed to do this earlier, but someone distracted me. She threw Marak a look that gave his future grandchildren frostbite, and then she cast one of Orion's spells on the pad. Just like Invigoration and the professor's spells, it was able to pick the residual traces of mana that the repeated input of the password was supposed to have left. She moved her wand over every single character as silver filaments probed them. Floria was actually ignoring most of the characters and focusing solely on those Lith had pointed out to her. It took her a while, but she managed to pick a very faint energy that her spell enhanced, making it visible. She pretended to also scan half the panel before giving up. I'm beat. I can't focus anymore without affecting my ability to fight. Floria was panting. The trace was so faint that she had to pour quite some mana to find it. Yandra performed her spell with her silver wand again, this time focusing only on the new characters. Good gods, we really missed two of them. You must have an exceptional perception, Captain, to sense such a small amount of mana. She said. Thanks, Professor, but it's mostly due to my father's spell. Floria said. Orion's masterpiece would have also revealed the relay's position if she hadn't dispelled it in time. Those are very uncommon letters. Gaku said. They are bound to be rarely used and have the faintest signature. Excellent job, Captain. I believe we have our password. Ascension. The Forge Masters scanned the pad's most uncommon characters again before inputting the password, just to be safe. When the holographic display beeped and the metal cylinders were retracted, the memory of their past failure made the members of the second group shiver in fear. Lith put on his plague mask and a thin white layer of solid white energy covered every inch of his body. This is Minoru's spell. Lith recognized the effects of life ward he had witnessed during O3's mission. It seems that the mad professor also dabbles in alchemy, but I doubt he does it of his own will. This must be rare equipment since even in Candria we didn't use it. Everyone prepared a couple of spells before opening the door. The moment the metal turned on its hinges, a black and green fog invaded the corridor as what looked like veins made of black mold grew with the speed of a hungry beast.